have a really creepy story for you. When I read this one, it just gave me a whole other thing to worry about when my friends meet a guy. So this girl used to work at a storage facility, and she said like a lot of times people would come in and they would say, oh, that's my stuff in there, but if their name wasn't on there, she could not let them in. And over the 4 years that she was working there was this one woman, she would come in all the time. It was the first time she saw this woman, she was instantly taken by how pretty she was. She said she looked like Megan Fox. Her name was Holly, and every time Holly would go in there, she would ask about a specific container that belonged to her ex-boyfriend. Holly's name was not on the paperwork, and so every time she would go, she would get turned away, but she kept coming anyway. And it turned out that Holly's ex, he'd actually paid for 5 years of storage up front, which was basically unheard of. Because of some like data law, she wasn't even allowed to know that the stuff was being held for 5 years. Like she wasn't allowed to know how it had been paid or for how long it had been paid for. And so she would just keep coming, hoping that one day she will be able to retrieve her stuff. And obviously over the years, all of the staff, they're incredibly curious about what could possibly be in that storage unit that Holly wants so badly. And so one day when Holly comes in, she just decides she's going to ask her. And this is when Holly tells her this crazy story about how she met her ex-boyfriend and how he turned out to be a complete psycho. Holly had been working at a cafe, and every day a man would come in. And at first, Holly barely even noticed this man. But then one day this man comes in, Holly looks at him, and she said she instantly falls in love. It's like she's met her soulmate in that moment. Everything moves very quickly, and her friends, her family, they don't like him, not at all. And she explains how one day she woke up and she just didn't love him anymore. But when she tried to explain this to him, he had turned into a psychopath. During their 3 years together, Holly had never had a job. And she said that was because he didn't really like her being around other males. But when they break up, she goes and gets a job. But a few times when Holly left her job, she would feel like someone was following her. And she just happens to mention it to a male co-worker one night when she's leaving. And the male co-worker says, I'll walk you home tonight. It's no bother. I live nearby. And so she says yes. During that walk, just as they were approaching Holly's house, somebody had jumped out and attacked both of them so badly that they'd bitten the man's nose nearly clean off. And Holly had always believed that it'd been her ex that done it. After they had broken up, he had become very malicious. Like for instance, when Holly had woken up that morning and said she didn't love him anymore, he had taken all of her stuff and put it into this storage facility. Hearing all this, the girl that works there, she feels really bad, but she can't tell Holly exactly how long her stuff is being held. So she just grew to expect this beautiful woman, Holly, popping in every now and then. But she starts to notice that every time this woman comes in, she's visibly aging like 10 years. She's losing weight, she looks pale, she looks tired, and her very thick dark hair, it was falling out in clumps. Until eventually she's brought in by her brother and she is in a wheelchair. All of the staff, they just collectively assumed that she must have some sort of terminal illness. The most frustrating part was that she only had a few months left until she could get all of her stuff back. But they don't see her again, ever. And on the date that the 5 years are up, the boss and her, they're like desperate to go in and just have a look. That is when they find voodoo dolls. And what they assume is Holly's hair. So like bits of hair that this man has stolen from her head, maybe when she's sleeping. They find that along with written spells that would lead to somebody's hair falling out. They find parts of dried animals. Crow's feet dried, pressed into books. They find love spells. So how Holly had described one morning she just woke up and she was no longer under his spell, like she just decided she didn't love him. Spells for mysterious diseases. Basically everything that this woman had happen to her, it was all there. As they're going through all of this, immediately she's like, I feel weird, I don't feel comfortable. The guy who owned the facility, he was like, we need to just chuck all of this stuff out. Like, I just want it burnt, I want it gone. He arranges for that to happen. 2 weeks later, he gets pneumonia and dies. If you feel like you've just suddenly fallen in love with someone who you maybe would not look twice at in real life, maybe get yourself an Etsy witch or something, or go to church, I don't know. Creepy.